Good morning, everyone. This is Nina, your host, and you are watching the chat session on the This Way Network. My co host, Rodney, is going to be here shortly, and I'm glad because I don't know how to get the Bible map off the screen. I've already tried. It's Rodney who is doing all the producing stuff now. So he's going to be here soon, but until he gets here, we're going to talk about what all of you are probably already talking about, unless you're not in the United States, which is the weather. We had a huge, huge winter storm come in over the weekend. I'm sitting over here looking out the window at what's going on right now. Currently, here where I am, it is 14 degrees. Thankfully, we did not get a lot of snow and ice because I'm in uh, north central Alabama. And north central Alabama, we got mostly rain, lots of rain, and a lot of wind. Oh my goodness, it was a little bit like a hurricane coming through. Um, Except a hurricane goes faster than, than this did. It was it was noisy wind, the kind that makes you feel like you're in one of those movies in the haunted house and you're hearing the storm going on outside, but it never seems to end. Well, that's a little bit the way it was. There was no lightning, there was no thunder, just a lot of heavy wind and rain. And then at the tail end of it, while we were still getting a lot of rain, it became freezing rain, which was okay because we were still above freezing as far as our temps. But then the sunset yesterday, the temps started to plummet, and all of that rain started freezing. So now we have a layer of ice over everything. We got a little bit of snow flurries this morning. There's a light dusting. We didn't get it nearly as dangerous or troublesome as a lot of other people in this country. 270 million Americans were affected by this storm. Literally thousands and maybe even millions are without power today. And just like it is 14 degrees here where I am, they are below freezing too. And they're suffering through it with no power. In particular, there's Oxford, Mississippi. Trees down, down on power poles down. They have no heat, no power at all in Oxford. They were working really hard yesterday to try and restore it, but as the temperatures plummeted, it became dangerous for the utility crews to be out in that. So they had to suspend their efforts, and people woke up this morning to no heat and 14 degrees. So, y'all, please do be praying for Oxford, Mississippi, and all these communities across the South that are affected by this. Missouri, Arkansas, parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, all of them either got a lot of snow or a lot of ice. And by a lot of snow, I'm talking for some of them 10 to 12 inches over the weekend, which is a lot of snow. Now, some of you are up north are probably thinking, hey, snow is no big deal for us. A lot of these southern communities don't get that kind of snow every year, so they don't have the equipment, especially the smaller towns. They don't have a way to salt the roads or clear the roads. My sister, who lives in North Carolina, told me this morning that trucks came through, plowed the snow and some of the ice off the road, but it left a big pile at the end of their driveway. And so now it makes it harder to get out of the driveway unless they can get out and shovel the driveway, which they can't because the driveway is a sheet of ice right now. They were getting rain overnight. It was already 20 something degrees there. So, yeah, there's a lot of people who are stuck, can't go to work, can't do other things, can't get to appointments or doctor visits that they need to be making. So please do pray for all of these people that have been affected by this winter storm. And pray for people who are stuck at home because we all still remember what COVID was like. This is nothing like that, I know, but people have been stuck all weekend long. Some of them are still going to be stuck because we're supposed to stay in the low temps and not get above freezing again. At least for us, we don't get above freezing again until tomorrow evening. And then it only happens for just an hour or two, and then it's going to plummet again. So anything that doesn't melt off completely is going to turn to black ice. So y'all be careful when you go out on the roads in this. There is no way sometimes to see that black ice. If you can avoid going out, then please do avoid going out. The last thing you want is to get out on the road, hit a patch of that black ice, and in this cold, have to have emergency crews come and get you and take you somewhere. You also don't want to be slipping on the sidewalk or on the steps and breaking a leg or an arm or a hip. I have a friend who recently slipped on some ice, fell, and broke both her arms at the same time. And I don't think she wants her name mentioned here, so I'm not going to mention it, but I'm praying for you if you're watching this. Just wanted to let you know we do sympathize and we are praying for you. So as soon as Rodney gets here, we're going to be discussing more about what's going on in our country. You know, our title today is A Nation Divided, and what can we do? I do want to suggest one thing. Yes, there is division in our nation. I just saw yesterday, want to see if I can get that up again, that actually there might not be as much division as some of the media would be telling you. So let's see. Oh, I just read where 800,000 people are without power in these extreme cold temperatures. That's a lot of people. So please do be praying for them. And I think Rodney is coming on. So I was looking to see, I just saw a report here that the president is sending the border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota.
Hey there.
Yeah. Hey, Rodney. I don't know how to get us off of this. Well, I'm glad you're there
I'm
now. Let me
fine.
get us. There we go.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Yeah.
Oh my
I didn't
goodness.
know how to
As
get
soon
the
as I got
Bible
started,
map off
hey
of
Mika,
there.
stop.
Hey,
Stop,
Mika.
Mika.
So
Stop,
please
Mika.
tell us you're not in a part of the cold that's hit the
No,
rest of the country.
I tell you, well, it has been kind of cool out here in Southern California, and it really has been just kind of like really nippy, but thank goodness it's nothing really strange going on as far as the weather, but it's just kind of seasonably cold and a
Oh,
little windy. I did have a little bit of damage actually to my place
oh
here. There
yeah.
was wind damage a couple of weeks ago. There was a weird storm. They say the wind normally flows like this, which is no problem,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of east and west. For some weird reason, there was a north to south wind that kind of went sideways and it got
Mm.
under my carport area and I guess it kind of compromised a couple of the supports. So I had to kind of get creative and
Oh,
go see the local Home Depot and get some wood and metal and screws, and I had to go to work, and it was a little fun. But anyway, I see there was one comment there who was, "Oh, hey, good morning. Hey, how
yeah.
are you?" And so,
Yeah.
how are things with you? I know it's a little more chilly and more things going on back your way.
Yeah, it's a lot chilly here. It's
Yeah.
14 degrees here currently.
14
Mhm.
degrees, man.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and north of us, of course, it's even colder. So,
I have a dear friend that's in, he's in, Seoul, Korea, and he
Mhm.
told me the other morning it was 22 below 0 in Korea. 22 below 0. And I said,
I can't
"Man."
even imagine.
Yeah, and he said but he said the sad part of it was, I mean, he has a, nice home and everything, but he says his utility bill was like $600. It was expensive because he said
Ooh.
he had to keep the heat on, and I was like, "Oh," and he has a little doggy too. "Stop,
Mhm.
I'm on the Zoom." And he was saying that really it was really chilly. He was in his house, and he had this big furry hat on. I was like, "Wow, nice hat." But
That's what you have to do. Oh, in Poland, it's 0. 0.
0. Wow, it's freeze. Yes, my
So
friend.
are you used to that in Poland? Is that normal for you this
Yeah,
time of
that's a
year?
good question. Hey, Elvira, is it normally that cold? I mean, it's funny. Well, she's funny because I know her. Her and some of her
Mhm.
girlfriends will go out and break ice in a local pond, and they all get into the ice, water. And she says
Polar
they only
plunges.
do it. Yeah, no, no, and they say, but it's supposed to be very healthy for her or for them, and they will hit this,
Mhm.
and it's almost like putting your body into a reset, and I'm like, "I don't know if I could handle that," because I don't know. That is just it might be too shocking for me, but they they do this. I actually have images. Next time we're going, she has sent me images of her and some of her girlfriends and people, and they will go and they normally have a guy with them. They have because he has to break the ice, and it's a little hard for him. And
Mhm.
they move these big
Mhm.
chunks of ice out of the way, and they'll clear area like 8 feet by 8 feet, and they'll just go "Kooshoosh" and dive in. And I'm like, in
Wow.
bikini, in the ice, and I'm like, "Okay."
Sounds painful. Sounds painful.
But
Now
no, but
I
yeah,
just saw,
uh-huh.
do you know who Dr. Stacy Sims is?
I've heard the name. I've heard the name.
Okay. So, she's a big, um, fitness sports and
Mhm,
fitness
mhm, mhm,
person who's done a lot of research. I think she has,
mhm.
authored or co-authored over 107 different research
Wow,
papers that have
wow.
been peer reviewed and published and so forth. She was recently on, the Mel Robbins podcast. You know who
Okay,
Mel
I got
Robbins is? Okay. So
yeah.
anyway, so I was watching that podcast, and I took note when Mel Robbins asked her, "Is it a good thing? Is it a healthy thing for women to do these cold plunges?"
Right.
And I took note of her answer because she said, "Yes, but." She said,
Uh-huh.
"Women are not just small men. We literally have not just a different physiology, but our
Thinner,
bodies
yeah, thinner
have a
fat,
different
like
chemistry.
ooh,
We have a
chemistry.
different chemistry, and our bodies react differently than a man's body does." And so, specifically, one of the ways that happens is she said, for women,
Mhm.
we do not begin to shiver right away. We get
Right.
into cold, like if you get into ice water, you vasoconstrict, so you don't have blood going, everywhere. It actually pulls in, and
Uh-huh.
your body now is thrown into survival mode. And we
Right.
don't start shivering for a while. And she said, by the time our bodies start shivering, our body
Mhm.
thinks we're dying. We are dying.
Right,
And
yeah.
so it takes
Hypothermia.
a lot longer to recover from it,
Mhm.
and it actually puts a woman's body into such stress that it's too
Right.
much. Now, she said the
Mhm.
difference is men can do the ice water cold plunges, and
Mhm.
for men, it's actually a benefit because they start shivering right away. They vasoconstrict and shiver right away.
Right.
And so they know to get out, pretty soon, and their body is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, as long as we're shivering, we're trying to generate heat," right?
Right. Right.
So it's actually a benefit to men. It is like a reset. So she said, "So I am for the cold plunges, but for women, not the ice water. She said
Wow.
women get the same
Mhm.
result that men do when women do about 55 degrees. The water is about 55 degrees, so
Really?
cold,
Okay, so it only
but
needs to be
not ice
55.
water. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So she said, if you want the same health benefits, then women
Yeah.
need to do cool water about 55 degrees, not the ice water. And
You
that's what
know,
the research has shown.
I because I always wondered, because you see the athletes, and after a game or something, they'll put them in a ice bucket, and they
Mhm,
sit there.
mhm,
And I sit there, and I have friends who are professional athletes, and I asked them, I said, "How long do you sit there?" They're like, "Oh, 5 minutes or so." But the thing about these girls and guys that do the plunge there in Poland, she said that, I mean, they have a fire. They'll start a fire, bonfire, and
mhm,
they have a whole system set up, but they'll just do the plunge. They're in there for a couple seconds and they're out. And but
mhm,
that is just long enough, and they get out, they dry off and put on a robe, and they run and sit by the fire, and they already have soup prepared. So they'll eat
mhm,
something as they as they reheat, and then they jump in the car and
mhm.
take off. And I'm like, I don't know if a brother could do that. I think I couldn't imagine. Because
There are people who
I
do
get
that
upset
every
that the
year.
water,
Yeah,
if I'm in the middle of the shower and the hot water runs out, I'm like, "Whoo, ah, ah, ah." I'm like getting out of the shower, I've
same
just
here.
some
Same
and then
here.
some people say, "Oh, I
It's
take cold showers."
literally
I'm like,
yeah.
"Cold showers?" I was like, "No, no, no, no,
Now, I tell you
no."
what I have been doing, 'cause I heard of those cold plunges, and I thought maybe this would
Mhm.
be a good thing to do. I don't know, I'd
Mhm.
like to get the health benefits from it, but I thought I'm gonna
Right.
need to build up to it. This is not one of those things that I can just go and do, because honestly, cold,
Mhm.
anything
Yeah.
cold touching me is painful. It is
Yes, yes,
painful.
yes.
It's not just like, "Oh, it's cold." It's
Uh-huh.
painful. So, I started, um oh, I don't know why we lost Rodney. Here he comes.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I
Can you see
started
me?
just at the end of my shower,
Yeah.
turning the water all the way, the
Oh,
heat off. I think your camera is off, Rodney, because 'cause I'm not
that's
seeing you.
me. Okay,
I mean,
okay.
you're supposedly up on the screen, but I'm not seeing you.
That is strange.
But
What is
anyway,
happening?
I just started turning the water all the way off to cold and then just standing there under it for a few minutes, and even that was painful, but I don't mind telling you that was plenty for me, and I think I saw some
Mhm.
benefits from it. I could tell that I felt better afterwards, I was more energized. Um,
Uh-huh.
it does it does cause your body to, ramp up its metabolism and, make some things that your body doesn't normally make otherwise that you want more of, like stem cells, for instance. So it's a good thing to do. I think Rodney left and he's going to try coming back in. Yeah, there he is. Let's see if he can get back on.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway,
here. Yeah,
yeah, there you are. Good, good.
yep. It
So
it
anyway,
might be
yeah,
the chilly
it
might
does
be the chilly weather, I'm telling you.
it could, well, you know what? It really could be. It really could
Yeah.
be, because who knows? There are so many places. I don't know if you
Mhm.
saw it in the news, but Oxford, Mississippi, in particular,
Really?
had
Uh-huh.
lots of ice. And so
Yeah.
trees came down on power lines, took the power lines
Mhm.
down, and it's so cold there now, they weren't able to let the utility crews continue to try and fix
Right.
things. So they're
Right,
still in
yeah.
a
They're
position
saying over a
where
million people. They're saying over 1,000,000 people are out of power, which this is
power.
another
Mhm.
little caveat to the chat session is, please heed these warnings. When they start talking about these
Mhm,
weather storms and things, please make sure that you stock up, that you do get supplies, water, flashlights, batteries,
mhm,
make sure all your cell phones are charged up and things like that, because
mhm,
as you can see, it is real, because when weather comes in and the ice hangs on the trees and the trees get heavy and they get compromised and then they break and they fall on the power lines and they have to double check. That's another thing. The power utility company, they have to check things. They just can't throw the power back on because it could create a surge and other problems in other areas.
True.
So you have to make sure that you are prepared. Even if you're at home, make sure you got some
Mhm.
heavy coats around, some blankets and things like that. It's terribly uncomfortable to be in
Mhm.
your house and it being cold. I do realize that. And please be
Mhm.
careful because some people think like, well, I'm just gonna open the stove up and turn the heat and turn the fire on. Don't do that either because that puts carbon
Mhm.
monoxide in the house. And sadly, um, one of our dear friends, my friend Elvira, um, one of our dear friends that was in Kansas, sadly, that's what his brother did. His brother did that and he passed
Oh,
away.
no.
He passed
Oh.
away from carbon monoxide poisoning. And the sad part of it is there were 2 twin brothers, Mike and Mike
Mm.
and Mark Owens, and they were brothers. I mean, and they were twins. The
Mhm.
twin called me I mean, minutes after it happened. I get a phone call, and it's Mike screaming on the phone. I'm like, "Mike, what's going on?" He goes, he looked out the window, and he saw his brother's door cracked on the porch. And it was during dead of winter. And he was like, "That's not like Mark to leave his door open." And so he started thinking, "Huh, maybe he left and somebody's in his place." So Mike goes into the house and
Mm.
opens the door and he's calling his brother. And he goes in and he finds his brother. And the stove was on, the door was open, and he had passed away. And so
Oh my.
that was very traumatizing for my friend and our friend, and,
Sure, yeah.
it was very sad, can you imagine losing a twin brother? And then it was, like, 2 years later, Mike passed away, and
Mm.
he passed away under probably something like a heart attack, and I guess who knows what it was, but anyway, the key thing was, it's a sad thing, so make sure you do not
Mhm.
try to heat your house by turning the pilots on and letting your stove burn and opening the oven up because
Mhm.
it does throw carbon monoxide into the house, and that is
Mhm.
not good. That is not good.
Yes.
And
Carbon
some people
monoxide is
use space heaters.
yeah.
Silent killer.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
silent killer, that's what I was gonna mention, because, a lot of
Yeah.
times people don't realize it's having an effect on
Mhm.
them. They just get a little drowsy and,
Yeah.
you can't smell it
Yeah.
or anything. You don't
You
know
will
what it's doing. Yeah.
there were 2 people, and I had another friend, and he had moved to Florida, and he left California, he was so happy, and moved to Florida, and that was where he was from. So he moved back to his
Mhm.
old neighborhood, and he had gotten a home, and he was working there, and everything was going good, and so he made friends with a neighbor, oh, a coworker. And every Thursday, they would do movie night. So one of his coworkers, his buddy, and they were film buffs, and they would come over, and every Thursday, either he would pick up a movie or his friend would pick up a movie, and they'd come over and they'd watch some movie and analyze it and talk
Mhm.
about how it was shot because he was here in California in the film business and entertainment stuff. And he I didn't hear from him. I talked to him every week, and then one week I just didn't hear from him. I was like, "Wow, it's weird." Someone in the house. Oh well, he must be busy. And I ended up getting a call from one of the friend, and it was
Mhm.
like a couple weeks later, and he said, "Is this Rodney Rippey?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "I was calling you." And he brought up my friend's name, and I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What's going on?" So I hadn't talked to him for a couple weeks. He goes, "Well, he passed away." The sad part about it, how he passed away, he said when he came there to come see his friend, his friend would always leave the door open. He said, "Oh, I'll leave the door open, just come on in." So he comes in, he's like, "Hey man, I got the DVD. I got this great film, and it's about such and such." He's walking through the house. Oh, this is gonna be great. And he's walking through the house, but the house smelled
Mhm.
smoky. And
Oh.
he had gotten up, and the guy had sat down at the dinner table. He had fixed a plate, and he had cooked something on the stove. And believe it or not, he had fallen asleep waiting for the food to
Mhm.
cook, and the food burned. And apparently, and so he notices, and the pan is on the stove and it's like red hot. And so he's
Mhm.
like having to cut the fire off, and there's his friend. And I mean, the first thing was to cut the pan off and try to figure out why the house so smoky. And he
Mhm.
came in, he immediately smelled the smoke, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you cooking? Are you cooking? Hey man, something's burning." And he comes in the kitchen, and my friend was just like he was asleep. He said it was just like he was asleep sitting
Mhm.
at the table, and he was gone. And
Mhm.
the apparently there was some kind of a fire or something that, and the
Mhm.
weird thing was it did not burn bad enough to set the whole house on fire. It just burned the cabinetry around the kitchen, and somehow it went out, but the smoke killed him. So
Because
everybody
yeah, because
needs to
there
be
wasn't
careful.
enough oxygen even to support the fire. Because that's what carbon
Right. Well,
monoxide is. It's, there's oxygen,
right.
yes, but it's, you know,
Mhm.
it's hard for me to tell the chemistry, but it's, mono means one.
Mhm.
So normally when we
Right.
think of what
One
we're breathing
one
in,
part of oxygen.
oxygen, right.
Mhm.
So it's only got one atom of oxygen, and when you breathe that
Right.
in, your body can't take that in and do anything with it. So you literally
Right.
lose out on the oxygen that you need, and that's what kills you. You basically kind of
Wow.
suffocate. All your cells suffocate, but you don't feel it
Yeah, you just
happening.
yeah, you just go to
So
sleep.
yeah.
It's sad, but and so again, to our viewers out there, make sure that you check your
Mhm.
carbon monoxide detectors in your house,
Yes.
and make sure that, at least
And if
once
you don't
every
have them, get
2
them.
years,
Yeah.
get them if you don't have them. And matter of
Mhm.
fact, I have to get one. I had one that was kind of bad, so I need to get one myself. So I have to
Mhm.
pat myself on the back for that one. I will do that. Um, but anyway, another topic for today was,
Mhm.
I did want to bring this up. We are looking at a nation divided. And the question is, what can we do? And so, Nina, as you know, we're looking at our nation, and all around the nation, there are protests going on. And matter
Mhm.
of fact, I just saw something as I was coming in that there's a huge protest here in Los Angeles. And I do understand I'm trying to understand to the best of my ability the dilemma of what's going on. Of course, illegal immigration, it's an issue. And I think that a lot of people are getting involved. That I'm just saying from my opinion, and maybe my opinion is only worth half a glass of water or less. But I believe it does hold value because I'm speaking from the heart. I really think that people need to be careful. And what the issue is, there are people who are protesting, and they're really getting in the face of these officers.
Mhm.
They're in danger because throngs of people come out to
Mhm.
either save a community or save someone that they might know, or they get involved in things. And it's really sad that maybe people's good intentions, but you can't go up against the military. You cannot go up against the police. You can't. And some people say, "Oh, yes, I can." I'm like, "Oh, I understand this." And I think that that's a huge, huge problem. And
Mhm.
it's really sad because of what we see. going on. And honestly, I'm being very truthful. If I were, I'm just saying, if I were an illegal immigrant, I would seriously be trying to figure a way to just pack up and get out of here unscathed. Because, and here's
Mhm.
another thing. I had a colleague. Boy, I have a lot of strange stories, but I have my colleague that I know that's in Korea. He had overstayed his visa, but he was a
Mhm.
businessman. He had a family. He had a son and a daughter. I think that his wife had passed away, and he was here. And yes, he did overstay his visa. I did not know this, and had a driver's license. He drove a car. He drove sensibly. I rode with him in the car. And he was a Korean fellow, really nice guy.
Mhm.
And he told me, he says, Rodney, we need to take a road trip because he was in the apparel industry and he had a guy that he knew that had a whole truck full of apparel. And his idea was, hey, me, you, and this guy are going to take a road trip and we're going to stop at little shops and we're going to sell this stuff wholesale and we're going to make a
Mhm.
killing because this guy's got to get rid of all this inventory. And I mean, really nice stuff, dresses, hats, sweaters, everything, umbrellas,
Mhm.
just all kind of stuff. I was just happened to be free, and the reason why he wanted me to go, he says, "Look, me and my buddy are Korean. You are an American. You speak English. So places where we feel you need to intervene, you go in and you handle some of the sales." And he was going to pay me a handsome portion for taking this road trip. So we took off and we left California and we were on our way to Texas. Remember the sheriff that was in Arizona, the one guy, he's this real hardcore guy, and
Ar
he
in
was
Arpaio, I
yeah,
think that
whatever
was
the
it,
guy's
Arpaio,
name is,
yeah.
the one that started setting up roadblocks and all of that stuff in
Mhm.
Arizona.
Mhm.
Well, guess what? We were on the Arizona we were just coming through Arizona. We were on our way to Texas. We had been through California, made a few stops. We were in Arizona. We had planned about I don't know, maybe a 8-day trip, and we're rolling, and I'm in the truck, and I'm sitting there in the middle, and Jason was driving. I was in the middle, and his partner was over here. And I said, "Hey, Jason, um, there's something up the road." And he goes, because I could see it. Long
Mhm.
distance, I could see. I said, "Something's in the road, man. Be careful. Slow down." He said, "Oh, I got it. I got it." Next thing you know, something told me. I said, "Hey, let me drive." And he said, "No, no, no, brother. I got it. I got it. I got it." So he pulls up to the stop, and
Mhm.
sure enough, as we got to it was a tent sitting in the middle of the road, a, a easy up, sitting in the middle of a 2-lane highway, and
Mm.
there were 2 guys standing out there with military style rifles. And one was standing back, and the other guy walked up and he held his hand up. So we stopped. There were 2 chairs out there, and this was in the middle of nowhere on this 2-lane highway. And the whole conversation went like this. And so I heard the guy screaming. He didn't ask. He said, "Roll the window down, roll the window down." That's exactly how it started. So my buddy rolls the window down. He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Cut the truck off, cut the truck off." He said, "Country of origin." And my buddy said, "California." He said, "I said country of origin." And the way he yelled at him, I was like, I mean, it was like he was mad from the
Mhm.
get-go. And I sat there and I heard it twice. And my buddy said, "California." He said, "I did not." He goes, "I asked you country of origin." Then the other Korean guy piped in. We're just selling apparel. We're just going to Texas and we're from California." He said, "I didn't ask your friend anything. And you failed and you are the driver, so I need you to step out of the truck. And he steps out of the truck, and the other guy levies the M16 up on all of us and put your hands up, get out. So everybody has to get out. And I'm like, this dude is really on something. So we get out, I mean, literally hands up, walk around the front of the truck. The other guy is standing back with the rifle. We're all under gun pointed. And he tells him, get out your driver's license. I did not know this. Jason pulls out his driver's license. It is expired. And so he's like, why are you driving on an expired driver's license? And I look and he goes, okay, get back in the truck. And about a quarter mile down was a brick building, a little bitty, just like a little bitty, looked like a little bitty block up the street. He goes, drive up to that next building. That was like the police substation out in the middle of nowhere. Man, we drove up there. And I said, where I'm talking to Jason, I said, man, your driver's license is expired? He goes, oh, I must have forgot. Man, oh man, oh man. They got him out. They told him to come inside. They took Jason inside, told me and another guy, you stay out here. They patted us down. That's another thing they did. Patted us down, frisked us all the way down. I'm like, dude, I don't have anything on me. He said, sit out there on that bench. Sit out on the bench. They took him inside 10 minutes. They came out. They said, we got a problem. Your friend has overstayed his visa. We're going to keep him. I said, keep him? I mean, what do you mean? And this was 20 years ago. This was about 23 years ago that this happened. And I was like, wait a minute, wait. Listen, I have a valid driver's license. I said, I know him. Listen, I'll please let me just drive. We got another driver. He will not get back under the wheel. He goes, no. You don't understand. He has overstayed his visa, so he will be going to ICE. And I said, what is ICE? They took him to the ICE substation in El Paso, Texas. There he remained for about 8 months. I told me and this guy, I was so angry at the other guy. I said, don't you know anything about Jason? I said, did you know his driver's license was expired? And then this guy says, yes. And I was like, yes. Why didn't you tell me? He shouldn't have been. Why would you let him drive? So I was so upset. I said, dude, if you don't turn this truck around. So me and that guy got in that truck. We were in Arizona and we drove straight back from Arizona. I said, don't you stop this truck. We got to get back. And the only thing that happened, the officer said, sir, we're going to keep him. And so, who wants to take his belongings? And at that point, I was so upset. I told him, I said, Jason, can I please speak to him privately? He said, yeah. And so the guy said, you can talk with him right there. And so I took him to the side and I looked at Jason. I said, Jason, what do you need me to do? And he had like a little notepad with all these numbers in it. He said he took his notepad out of his pocket. He said, look, call my daughter. He said, call pastor. I was okay. He gave me his wallet, gave me his car keys. He had nothing. When I tell you he had nothing but his clothes on. That was it. And they took him. And I was just like, that was the saddest. I've experienced, that was the saddest because that was a business partner and a friend. We used to go to church together. And it was incredible how that whole thing unveiled. And when they took him, we made a beeline back to California. So the next, late that night, we get back to California and I call the pastor and I tell him what happened. And I called senators. I called everybody. And I called the Department of, I was calling everybody. And come to find out, they said, well, he had overstayed his visa. And that was a big issue. He was already in ICE 8
Mhm.
months rolled around. And then he was really despondent. I mean, he was so sad. And he said this place was like a zoo. The way it was packed in, the way everyone was packed in.
Mhm.
And he ended up losing like 34 pounds. He lost
Wow.
weight. And so what ended up happening was he said one day there was a guy came to the cell, told me, "You get up, put your clothes on. You have 5 minutes." And he was like, "What?" He said, "Get dressed." So now he gets dressed and they march him out, put him in a van, take him to the airport with this guy. They get on a plane. He said the guy walked in, he flashed something to the people at the airport, and he
Mhm.
says they flashed something, and he walked through security, flashed nothing at the gate, walked right on through. He said, he said, "Sit down, put your seatbelt on." Him and that guy flew all the way to Seoul, Korea, landed.
Wow.
That guy walked him off the plane inside the airport, told him, "Sir," handed him $20 and told him good luck, and turned around, didn't say another word to him, and walked back, got on that same plane.
Wow.
And my buddy called his sister. I mean, his sister. Just he was back home. All he had was 18-hour old clothes on and $20.
Mhm.
That was it. And they dropped him off,
Wow.
and he has been in. I just talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's been there ever since. And he's like, "I'll never return to California. I'll never come back to me." And you know, he is really, really upset. He goes, "I know what these people are going through." He's a Christian. He's a Christian man, and yeah, I
Mhm.
understand. He should have took care of his thing. I had no clue that he had overstayed his visa, and he was over by a couple years. He was over,
Mhm.
and I was
Mhm.
thinking. But here's the point. The reason why I'm bringing this up: a colleague of mine, this black guy here in California, was telling me he had a friend when he was in I think he said the 7th grade. He was in 7th grade with this Mexican fellow, and he said, "We were school together, we played kickball together, we were friends," and he goes, "And we stayed friends all our life." He said, "I'm in my 60s now." He said his friend called the Mexican guy called my buddy screaming on the phone, and he was like, "Man, what's going on? What's going on?" He said, "Man, I was at work," and he said, this happened at the top of this thing, when this thing first got started. He said, "Man, they took my family." He said, took your family, took his mama, took his daddy, took his grandma and an uncle, took all of them. And these people own property, they own businesses. And I understand that how they did all that illegally, they did, but they were productive people. The dad had been there 40 years, 40 years, and was a normal person in society. And let me tell you something. The guy cried like a baby. He said they took everyone. And because a neighbor saw basically ICE roll up, and they went in the house and marched everybody out. And he says, so he's like, "I don't know. My dad had been here for so many years." The mom and dad owned, I think it was some kind of, well, the dad owned a construction company, so he did construction work. And the grandpa and them, they owned like a little store, like a little, Carnicia, or, one of the meat stores and vegetables and stuff. And
Mhm.
it was, everybody was gone. I mean, gone with the wind. He said that was it. And he goes, and the guy was just distraught, took everybody. Took everyone. And again, a lot of people say 40 years. Why didn't he why didn't he go through the process? Don't know. I don't have the answers for that. But the
Mhm.
sad part of it was, I mean, they took him away. So this is a very I can understand the energy of people losing their family and people trying to get involved and stuff like
Mhm,
that, but as a warning, I really think people need to stand down and stay away if you're gonna film or document
mhm,
or try to just get information. But I would tell anybody, do not get in these faces, do not get into any type of physical altercation, do not try to block them or impede their driving, do not try to
mhm,
play chicken with your car in front of them, because that is not good. And what they keep
mhm.
saying in the news, I keep hearing all these officials, they say these people took it into their own hands, and I'm thinking, so we gotta pray that
Mhm,
people understand that. And I think, and here's another thing, they're saying some people are US citizens who are being caught up and they're being looked at in a certain way, and they're like, "Well," and so the best thing to do, if you are a US citizen, just be calm, tell
mhm,
them, try do not get combative because the fight starts, and there are just certain people and
mhm,
certain things that they want you to fight because
mhm.
they got so much adrenaline flowing that they will bring it to you. And I just think that this is a problem that has to be looked at seriously, and they really do need to have some serious conversation about this. I mean, publicly, I mean, this is like a
Yeah.
PSA they need to tell people. And I
Mhm.
know that and I mean, I'm sure that there's enough warning from looking at the news and stuff like that, but they really need to do some education on this
You
as
know,
they are doing their job.
yeah. I keep thinking, like, what you were telling me about the
Mhm,
thing that happened 23 years ago,
mhm,
and that was just 23 years ago would have been what, just 2 years, 3 years
mhm.
after 9/11.
Right. Right, right, right.
So, different times back then, etcetera, but my
Mhm.
point being, somewhere back then was when the whole concept of, oh, we're just going to let the borders, and this was the government doing it. So this is where I really
Yeah.
fault the government.
Right,
The
right.
whole concept of letting the borders be porous. We
Open.
know there's people
Yeah.
coming in, we're at catch and release, we're not going to. So we gave everybody the impression, in spite of what our laws were,
That it was
our
okay.
government gave everybody the impression that it was okay, that they're just
Right.
gonna look the other way and nothing is gonna happen, and they let them go on that way for years and years and years.
Exactly,
So
and
it's
that is a problem.
understandable that these people are thinking that, "Oh, well, why suddenly now?" And, I didn't think they'd ever do anything. And why would they do that? And it feels unfair to them. It feels unfair to their neighbors. They've been here 40 years. They've done this and they've done all these good things, and
Mhm.
and they have,
Mhm.
so no wonder it feels unfair. And this is where I fault the government with that. Now, having said that, now
Mhm.
when a different administration comes in and they said, "No, we're gonna enforce our laws because we have to." It
Right.
is, things have gotten so bad now that we have to do something.
Mhm.
And I gotta credit this administration with this part, which is early on, after the president was elected, he said,
Mhm.
"We're gonna pay you to self-deport. If you
Right.
will take yourself back home knowing that you're here, or, maybe you start that legal process if you want to stay. You might have to, because the wheels turn slowly, you might have to go back and then come back again, because the process hasn't finished yet.
Yeah.
But, this is what we're letting you know. This is coming. This is going to happen. If you don't want this happening to you, here's your options." And there were a
Right.
lot of people who didn't take those options.
Right.
Um, and there are people who, and I'm not discounting what people are saying about some people who are American citizens are being deported. or,
Well, I'm not
they're
saying so
catching
many
some of this.
US I'm not saying so many US citizens are being, caught up in the deportation, but there are people who are being stopped and detained, and
Yeah.
I think that even if that happens, the best thing to do is be calm and tell these people,
Yes.
but fighting and
Yes.
thrashing and carrying on,
Yes.
you know, I mean,
The
but
thing
see,
is,
nobody knows
people
how
are.
they will react because when you think your
Mhm,
freedom is about to be taken and that you're gonna end up in some foreign country somewhere that you were not even born at,
mhm, mhm.
yeah, that'll panic anybody. I understand that.
Yeah, yeah, especially for people who were their families came here before them, and then they were born here, or, maybe
Mhm.
they were born somewhere else, but their families brought them here when they were little. They've lived their entire lives here. So, yes, this would be very upsetting to
What
them.
do you think
That's
about
on
they
our
just said that
government.
they took a little
That's on
boy.
their.
Right. Yeah, they were saying that
You
they
know,
just
I
took a little
saw that,
boy.
but I also saw reports after that that said, no, the little boy had been abandoned. He had been abandoned, and ICE took him into custody so that he would not be, and,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
sent
Well,
him
I
to,
mean, that
child
if that
child
is so,
services, you know? And I will
yeah.
point out, and here's another thing that doesn't get talked about very much. The last administration admitted that there were over 800,000 children
Mhm.
that had come across the border, and they didn't know where they were now. They had not tracked them, you know,
Right.
and I'm like, "This is child trafficking
See,
going on."
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I personally believe the biggest issue is the governments of some of these foreign places because 'cause they're not just coming here for the sunshine and the beaches. They're not coming here for them
True.
people are running. And I understand if I were in Mexico, because they say it all the time, you can have a little bitty tire shop. You just putting tires on a car. And they'll say them guys will come in there and say, "Hey, listen, we're gonna drop off blah, blah, blah to you, and you are going to drive this stuff to so and so and drop this stuff off. And if you don't, they will come in and kill
Mhm,
you and your
mm,
family." And see, the problem is these people are tired of that oppressive regime and things that are going on down there. So some
mhm,
people are legitimately running for their lives and they're trying to come here. And again,
mhm,
when you and the one thing is this is one thing that's a fact, and Americans should be ashamed of themselves. You can have a foreign person show up here with nothing. And then before you know it, and I know a lot of people are gonna get all jazzed up about this, that they can have businesses, but a lot of this stuff is pure grit and tenacity. Yes, they do get some
mhm,
assistance. Yeah, they do
mhm,
weigh on the system, but there is a lot of real tenacity that people go, "I am here.
mhm,
I'm gonna take advantage of everything that is in my hands, anything
mhm,
I see," and they jump on it, and Americans sometimes go, "Well, they're doing this, that, and the other," but the reality of it is these people come over there and they get their grind on. They get to grind it,
mhm,
and they make it happen, and so when they come from a place of just very eager or very meager beginnings, and then they come to America and they start to thrive and they start to get a hold, just a little piece of that American dream, they lock in and they do
mhm,
very well. And the sad part of this is Americans who are here, born here, we don't take that same we don't have that same tenacity to take advantage of this stuff. And
mhm,
I think that's what President Trump is wanting to do. He's wanting to just he's saying, "Hey, you better go for the gusto because there's a lot of programs that are going to be challenged. There's a lot
mhm,
of things that have been old staple ways that have been like this for a long, long time, 30 years, 40 years. He's changing it up. And
mhm,
things of support, assistance and stuff, that stuff's going to end. It's gonna completely
mhm,
stop, and if people do not get ready, there's gonna be
mhm,
big, big problems. There are going to be some big surprises because when he says it's going to stop, he's that it's going to stop president, and
Yeah.
he is going to stop a whole lot of stuff in the next 3 years. There are going to be things it's been like this for 20 years. It's going to be like it's going to stop tomorrow, and when it stops,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to throw a lot of people in shambles. I mean, pure shambles. So people better
Mm-hmm.
start getting ready and stop thinking that any type of assistance that we've depended upon is going to be there. It is not. They have already
Mm-hmm.
proved it. They're doing tests to prove how people are going to react. Matter of fact, when they were just fooling around with the SNAP and the EBT cards, in my opinion, and I have some inside information that was told to me, that was a warning. That was a warning shot that was telling people, "Oh, you think we're kidding? We told you. You've seen it was all in the news, but no, this just like they told people about immigration. Go get your immigration papers straight. They've been saying that for years, and they just said it
Mm-hmm.
softly. You should go,
Mm-hmm.
you really need to come in and you need to do this. They've been saying that. We got the president, and yes, a lot of people don't like it. His edge is very sharp and very sudden. And that
Mm-hmm.
is just his way of in his administration. And I think people better take this stuff seriously, very
Mm-hmm.
seriously. And yeah, he is, you know, he's trimming fat, he's cutting a whole lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't like how he's doing it, but he's doing it.
Yeah, I get it. But, I think there's something else happening here too
Mhm,
with Americans. We are, at least I can say in my generation, and I
mhm,
think this is true for generations, some generations that have come after me. I don't know how deep this goes.
mhm.
We have an image already about America and what happened here. Everybody here, the families that were here, except for the Native Americans, everyone else is an immigrant, came from somewhere else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even if they've been here for generations and generations, at some point, one of their ancestors came here as an immigrant, you
That's
know?
right.
So, what we're all used to is the concept of America inviting people in, the Statue of Liberty, give me your
Right.
tired, your poor, uh, your
Right. And they should have fixed that a long
downtrodden
time ago.
masses. Yeah, yeah. All I'm saying is I'm not saying it's not true. As as far as values,
Yeah.
this is what Americans are. We're like, yeah, we will gladly let you come here and let you assimilate here and take part in the American dream. That's what we did, so we want that for you
Yeah.
too. But you have to come
Yeah.
here legally. You have to work when you get here. You can't just come here and sponge off of everybody else. So the problem is that over the last, I don't know, 40 years, maybe, there
Yeah.
are people in high places, organizations, even governments who have figured out how to game the system to make money off of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of corruption. Yeah, there's a lot of corruption going on now. And a lot of American people don't know the level of the corruption,
Oh,
but it is huge. It is massive, the
keep
level of
talking. Hold
corruption
on.
and
Keep
the
going. I'm
level of
listening.
fraud going on. Yeah. The level of fraud going on is enormous. So there are people who understand this, who are trying to stop that, who are saying we've got to do something because literally our country, our entire country, is going down the tubes because of the fraud, because of the damage that's
Yeah.
being done. It is unsustainable, and we have to do something. Now, the
But
people who are still
but Nina,
living
but
with that
again,
that
our
old idea.
nation, yeah, but
No,
Nina, our
wait a minute,
nation has,
Rodney. People
huh?
the people who are
Yeah.
still living with the old idea of,
Yeah.
"Oh, but all the immigrants coming in are like this," it's like,
Right.
um, not so much anymore. What our intelligence found
Yeah.
out was that there were other
Mhm.
countries that
Oh, yeah.
literally emptied their prisons and sent them all here. So, and
Yeah,
we're talking
see, but
thousands of people
this
that were
is what
sent
I'm
here.
trying to
So, yeah.
yeah, but this is what
So
I'm trying to
here's
understand.
what they're
Why hasn't the governments got together? This is what's upsetting me. It's like, I'm like, you
hey,
got the
because
United Nations and the nonsense that they're
yes,
all sitting around,
yes.
and I'm like,
No,
why
no,
can't
no, they're
you
not sitting around. The United Nations is part of what
Mhm.
is driving this. It's one of the
Right,
organizations that's actually driving this. And
right.
if you haven't seen it, there's a documentary out. Everybody needs to see
Mhm,
this documentary. I think it's
mhm.
called Reclaiming Europe, but they're talking about the mass immigration that was taking place from
Right.
African countries, mostly Islamic African countries, into
Mhm,
Europe, and what was happening as a result. And they
mhm.
said in the documentary they were able to show and prove that the United Nations was paying countries like
Mhm.
literally billions of dollars to help house some of the migrants that were coming in, but they were also telling them, but you need to do something to stop the flow, you know, because these people are coming here,
Yeah,
they don't need to be, et cetera, because they're not coming, the places they're coming from maybe are poorer and there's more opportunity where they're going in Europe, but there could be opportunity in their own countries if they
right,
stayed there
and
and they
there
worked, you know. So
and
anyway, so they're
I don't think
yeah,
it's that
so
they're
the
not
UN
just
was
wanting to
telling them,
work. I don't think it's
no,
that
no,
people are
it's
just
not.
not wanting there are systems in these foreign
Yeah,
places.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that.
right.
Here's what the documentary was showing, that the
Go ahead.
UN was paying these countries to say, okay, we're going to help you with these migrants. We're giving you this money to help house them, to help feed them, et cetera, et cetera. And the countries
Mhm.
in Europe, Spain in particular was the one that I remember. The countries in Europe were taking this money, they would put a little bit of it toward housing the migrants, and they would keep the
Right.
rest. And they knew that the
Yeah, see,
UN
that's
would
the
keep sending this money, so the government
right.
kept taking it. In other words,
Mhm.
massive fraud, and these people are caught up in the middle of it.
Right.
There are other
That what
organizations,
Mhm.
non-governmental organizations, there are other organizations who are literally paying these people to keep coming so the money can keep flowing
Right.
to there's like a
The
massive fraud. I'm not saying the people themselves are committing fraud.
Mhm.
I'm saying there are organizations that are using these people like pawns to commit massive
Right.
fraud.
Right, well,
And
see,
so there are
this is
people who
what
are
I'm
aware of
talking
this. They're trying to stop
yeah.
it. Yeah, they're trying to stop it. But now you've got this mixture of there are people who, were coming here because of dire need. And
Mhm.
somehow the government, when it's millions and millions and millions of people just pouring in across the border, they're supposed to somehow interview each person and discern who's here for what or how they got here or whether this is fraud or not. At some
Right.
point, and this is, I think, what Trump did, he was like, no, we're going to have to shut the border. We're going to have to stop the flow and
That's
say,
fine.
we've already got a mess to deal with. And now we're going to have to deal with that mess. And so,
Yeah, no,
he started putting things in place. Yeah.
he's dealing with a long-term problem that should have been
Hmm.
fixed 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
believe that, but the thing that I'm talking about is these corrupt nations around the world who are part of this
Hmm.
thing, and the thing that breaks my heart is the governments themselves that are doing stuff to the people, their own people. They ain't
To
doing it
their
to
own
some I mean,
people. Yeah.
they're doing it to their own people,
Yeah.
and I don't believe that there should be any tyrant anywhere in the world left to be unchecked,
Hmm.
including President Trump or anybody else, because if Trump starts up this type of stuff and that type of, it's gonna be my way or the highway type of stuff, and that's why he's the president, and he's pushing the envelope, he's pushing beyond putting pressure on the Constitution and other things because he's making moves so fast they don't even have time to check on what he's doing of the real long-term impact and the human right impact. But at the same time, this thing is so big all around the world that and it's just like what you're talking about. A lot of times people are talking about, like, for an example, the African nations. I hope and pray to God that the whole African continent, all of them get together as one and control their resources, the oil, gas, diamond, gold, all that stuff, so that
Mhm.
they need to pour that money back into their economy, back into their people. And I hear all around the world they're talking about giving assistance to people. That is the problem. People keep giving people a handout and handout. No, don't give
Mhm.
somebody a handout. Give them an economic system so that they could take care of themselves and leave them alone.
Mhm.
Their own particular government should leave the poor people alone and allow
Yeah.
them to have a part in society. And you got caste societies where
Mhm.
if you're poor, you're just gonna be poor. Your mom was poor, your daddy, granddaddy, your super granddaddy,
Mhm.
all that type of stuff. That's crazy. In this day and age, all of those walls need to come down. All of them. The education needs to flow. Thank God for Elon Musk and him moving the internet around. Some people don't like him, but the bottom line is if we can get information flowing and people have an opportunity to not be fed, but for them to
Mhm.
have the wherewithal and the support for them to be great right where they are, they wouldn't be moving all around the world. I don't think people would people would stay right where they were if they were not under fear and oppression. So human rights has a lot to do with this thing. The government leadership in these countries, they have a lot to do with people running around and moving around and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so now we're looking at this situation. I have a video clip. Now, this is a video clip about the young man that was in Minnesota.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on a
Hold on.
minute, Rodney, because
Yeah.
we're already at an
Mhm.
hour and 7 minutes. We've been
Right,
going
right.
an
Oh,
hour and
oh, oh.
7 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
can we save that for another time?
we can. It was just 4 minutes, but yeah, we
Yeah.
are going over, but the thing is, people, we need to study and understand where we are with this whole thing. And we do
Mhm.
have a lot that we need to pray about, not only for our nation, but other nations around the world and people and innocent people who are caught up in this thing. And,
Mhm.
I hear you. I hear you. But this whole thing, you know, Nina, this has just been a subset of wrong that has went hundreds of years, and I mean, I can't
Mhm.
even begin to say that, and we can't deny that, the United States has benefited off of slave labor from some serious, cold-blooded type of practices,
Mhm.
and that stuff is a huge setback. There's some mental, emotional, and financial damage that can't be fixed. It can't, and it won't be fixed. And so there's a lot of, there's some things that are by choice, but there are some things that were brought out on people, and people of color, from Asian to Latinos, because I've seen it myself. These mega mogul companies have benefited off of the cheap labor of immigrants, and they knew they were taking advantage of them. They
Mhm.
knew that they did not have paperwork, and they made
Mhm. Mhm.
trillions of dollars. And
Mhm.
as
And
long as
that's
they were
why a lot
making
of
as long as they were
yeah.
making money, it wasn't a problem. But now it's an issue, and look at the ginormous setback of these people of all nationalities, all colors and races,
Mhm.
how much economic wealth and opportunity was stolen from them by them
Mhm.
being used as mules. That is
Mhm.
the problem. And I think that that's
Mhm.
something that has to be addressed. And some people would say, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. And these people just got to go. Wait a minute, you know.
No,
And
that
I
that
don't
has
know.
been going on all across the globe for centuries and always will
Yeah.
because there is so much evil in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That is the bottom
Mm-hmm.
line. This is between good and evil. And even when you're trying to do good, sometimes you don't know that you're actually in league with evil. That's how pervasive it is. And that's why we need a savior.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
need
Well,
Jesus to come
that's
back,
true.
you
That's
know?
true, then. Well,
So, anyway, all of
Jesus.
that to
Oh,
say,
yeah,
I
Jesus.
do
That's
agree
right.
with you
Right.
completely. I don't think there's any side of this that we need to say, "Oh, well, they're always right," or "They're always good," and they're always, on in the wrong. I think,
Mhm. Mhm.
every elected official, every, government official, every person
Mhm.
really needs the oversight of people putting eyes on it and watching. But I do agree with you that even while you're
Yeah.
there, watching, just be there to observe, to document. That's what you can do legally. And you may not can stop it from
Yeah.
happening, but if,
Mhm.
if you try to step in and stop it from happening, then you're doing something illegal. So,
That's right. That's right.
that's all I can say is it's only making things worse. I'm fine with people going.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them
So,
protesting. I'm fine with them, not
mhm.
violently. I'm fine with them
Mhm.
watching, documenting, but not getting involved.
Mhm. You're
That's the
absolutely
bottom
right.
line.
Well, Nina, that's the bottom line. So everybody out there, thank you for watching the chat session on This Way Network. Again, we will do hopefully a deeper dive in on,
Mhm,
just what's going on right now. And again, we don't
mhm,
have the answers. We do not have the power to control or anything. But the one thing that we can say, one, take care of yourself. If you're in an area where there's cold weather, please prepare. Please do as much as you can to stay safe. Stay off the roads because the roads are icy.
mhm,
Please be careful when you're even out walking because I've had reports come in of people falling and breaking
mhm,
bones and
mhm,
things like that because when you step out there on the ice, there are patches that are just very slick. So please be careful.
mhm,
Please take care of your pets as well because it's rough on them too. And
mhm,
as far as on the immigration side, my best piece of advice, if you are here illegally and you do have assets, I would most definitely try to find a way to liquidate those assets as quickly as you can and take advantage of the opportunity to self-deport, take your wealth with you and go back to wherever you came from with as much or as all of your wealth as you possibly can and begin your life again right back at your home.
mhm,
Right? I understand
mhm,
some people say this is my new home, but by law, if you're here illegally, it is not your home and you don't want to
mhm.
get caught up in this mess because it is a lot of mess
Right,
going on. So
right.
that's my piece of advice. I don't know if you could double down on that or if you oppose, but
I no,
I
I
think,
agree with you completely. I agree with you
yeah, I
completely
just
on
because
that.
I me personally, because the one last thing that really breaks my heart. I understand. I don't know how people do it. Don't have a clue, but they own property, they own houses, they own buildings, equipment, they own cars, they own stuff, assets, hard assets. I'm trying to figure out, well, what happens to those assets when you take a guy or girl and they're boom, they're back in their country, they're in ICE. what happens to all that asset? Who is getting that asset?
Mhm.
How is that asset being so for me, that's a problem. It'd be different if they said, okay, well, listen, we're going to send you back everything you own. We're liquidating it.
Mhm.
We have a fire sale, and this stuff is going to be put in your account so that when you get wherever you going, you at least have some small percentage of your asset value so you can start a life again wherever.
Mhm.
And one last thing, they should not be sending people to other countries where they're not born. I mean, they're saying that they're just shipping people all around, or I don't think that they should. I think wherever
Mhm.
you're native, where you were natively born, that's where you need to go back to, period. But
Mhm.
but I think it's
Mhm.
kinda real foul if they're just shooting people and could you imagine somebody dropping you off in some foreign country and you don't know the language, you don't know the
I
culture, you
agree.
don't know.
I agree with you. Yeah. But I do
Yeah,
know there are
that
some governments, uh, who have said, "No, we're not taking them back. You can't bring them here," and they won't even let the plane land.
right.
So,
Mm.
what is our government supposed to do?
Well, that's
Now, I'm not saying that, every time our government does that, that's what it is. I'm not trying to say that. I'm sure there are times that it's happening that it shouldn't
mhm,
be happening. And I think all of that ought to be addressed and put into law, some kind
no.
of policy about here's our
Yeah.
policy, what we're going to do that is more humane
Well,
than that.
policies and laws are being challenged, and there are things that don't really matter, things that used to matter don't, and so I
Mhm.
just tell everybody, "You
Mhm.
gotta hold on you better hold on tight," and again, I one of the things I was thinking about is, if I were an immigrant, I think they need to put a system together that at least there's some kind of way where their assets could be liquidated for their benefit, and again, and a lot of times people and matter of
Mhm.
fact, they might say, "Hey, listen, you're here illegally, how you did this, we don't know, but, um, 50% of it is gonna because you got it here illegally somehow because you weren't supposed to be able to do
Mhm.
this the way you were
Mhm.
set up, so we take 50% instead of 100%." I mean,
Mhm.
some people don't like that, but 50 beats 0. So, I
Mhm.
think, they really need to look at that. I'm just talking about a common sense approach and fairness, and I
Mhm.
understand but again,
Yeah.
people say,
Yeah.
"Well, look at what they've cost America," so I just anyway, thank you for watching the chat session on This Way Network. Nina, thank you for hanging in there. Sorry I was a little late coming in, everybody, but, it is time to go take Mika. Yes, yes, Mika, I see you. Yep, yep, yep. Mika is saying hello. Hello. Hello, Mika. Yes, I know. Are you hungry? Oh, you are hungry. Oh, yes, you're hungry. Okay, well, I think she needs a walk and to get food. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching the chat session. We hope to see you next Monday at 8:30 a.m.
Mhm.
And Nina, I
Mhm.
guess you can close us out.
Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us, everyone. We're so glad you were here today. And Rodney, I hope you have a great week. And
You too.
everyone, be of good courage because God is with us and we aren't alone. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Have a blessed week. Bye bye.